right now. You can see all the football helmets back here, and those all belong to Steve Spurrier. In addition, we have a second contest for 2 tickets and a $50 gift certificate to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. All you have to do is go to the Meldon Law Facebook page, and you can sign up. And we've had some really terrific winners. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll see some of their pictures. So join us at the Lady Gator match on gymnastics. I'm telling you, it's really exceptional. Have you ever been to any of the gymnastic matches?
Unfortunately, no. I was supposed to go to one, but I had to go home for an emergency, and I've been so busy with school, and I haven't been able to go.
Well, you really need to do it. After the show, talk to Abby, see if she can score a ticket for you, because I'm telling you, Liz, this is incredible.
No, I need to go, especially being a senior. Time is ticking.
Yeah. Well, it is on the SEC network as well, for those of you that can't score a ticket or can't get here. So anyhow, we're big supporters of Gator Sports. Meldon Law is the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators, and we're very proud of it. So we support not only are we the official law firm partner, but we actually go to the sporting events. We're into it. We love men's and women's basketball. We love the gymnastics, and check it out. The women's basketball team is hot. They beat Georgia this past weekend. They beat Tennessee earlier in the last week. So they all of a sudden rocketed into the top 20 in the country. And men's basketball team is doing much better now. So let's see what we can do to support Gator athletics. So our visitor, our guest, and our favorite baker today is Liz Diaz. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, anyhow, you were coming up on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Okay. So as a baker, Valentine's Day, that's an important day for a baker, right?
Yeah, a little bit of an important day, a little bit of a stressful day as well, but it's very rewarding to kind of see someone want to incorporate your baked goods into a day that they share with their significant other, and to see people's reactions is very rewarding and fulfilling. So very, very special position to be in.
So how did you get into becoming a baker?
So I've been baking since I was around 5 years old. I was put into baby chef school, and I had my birthday party at a little chef place in Miami. And then kind of in high school, when I was allowed to use the oven by myself, that's when I really started venturing out and forming my own recipes, and really fell in love with it, kind of being in the kitchen at night alone. It was just my therapy time. It was my silent time.
So you went to baby chef school?
Baby chef school, yes.
Okay, and it's in Miami.
In Miami. So that's where I was born and raised, in Coral Gables. And yeah, Miami was an interesting place.
So my granddaughter, Naomi, lives in Miami.
Okay.
And she's turning 5 April 7th.
Baby chef school.
I think we need to get her into baby chef school. and she's a real diva, so she would probably really get excited.
She'll thrive. Don't worry. I'm a little bit that, as my shirt, I'm very, I love it, but.
Well, I mean, it looks more Cayo Ocho than Coral Gables, right?
There we go. I'm from Cuba, so it works out perfectly.
Well, I don't know if you know this. My wife is Cuban as well.
I would love to come over and help her bake and cook.
Now, do you speak Spanish?
A little bit. I understand most of it, but when you don't have people to practice with, it's very hard to kind of keep that language going, especially when it really isn't your first language. But I could get by. Okay,
well, good. Well, I'm around our home. You'll feel right at home. we speak both languages.
Perfect.
At least my wife does, not me. So anyhow, so you're going to the University of Florida,
Yes.
right? And you decide to start a business. How did that all come about?
Well, I know I've always wanted to start a business, and I really didn't know what I could do. I didn't want to go into a market that was oversaturated, and I wanted to be unique. So I thought of what am I good at? And baking. The charcuterie aspect of the box came because I saw all the pretty pictures on TikTok and Instagram, and I really wanted to do that. And the box was born. I mean, I came up with the name because I thought to myself, well, what goes in something like this? And what's going to be a versatile name that if this blows up, I could take it anywhere? So the box Gainesville, the box Miami, the box wherever I go in my next life. So, yeah, I don't.
So, Liz, tell me what the life of a baker is like. You're going to school and studying and doing all this at the same time you're running the business. So, do you cook like early in the morning, late at night? When are your favorite times to cook?
Every hour that I'm awake and not studying, just like the gymnastics team, I have to learn balance to the umpteenth degree. Typically, I'll wake up at 5 and kind of get my day rolling very slowly. And then I could be baking until midnight. So the question everyone asks is, well, when do you sleep? And, coffee is a great thing that humans have discovered. And
So, in Meldon Law, we have a newsletter called, Meldon Law Talk. And in it, we feature a recipe once a month.
Okay.
And I'm inviting you now to tell our listeners and viewers which recipe you're going to contribute to the next Meldon Law newsletter.
Ooh. Probably my carrot cake cookies, my stuffed carrot cake cookies. I think that those have to be my favorite creation and an accident, actually. So I'll definitely.
Well, I want to hear the story.
The story of the carrot cake cookies? Oh my goodness. Well, I love carrots, and I was like, "What? How can I make a cookie with this?" Because carrots are very, water saturated, and so I thought, you can't really do much with that.
You like a carrot cake's very moist usually,
Carrot cake's
right?
very moist, so a cookie will just fall apart, and cream cheese is very watery. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to just throw this in the freezer. I'm going to put it on ice. I'm going to hope for the best, and I'm going to freeze the pan as well. I'll write the recipe out for you and give you more details, but it worked. It stayed together, and all my friends try to recreate it, and that's my secret. I put it in the freezer, so.
Well, that's fabulous. Okay, so you took the ingredients for a carrot cake, made them into a cookie shape.
Well, I kind of come up with the recipes on my own, so I'll just throw a bunch of ingredients in the bowl and hope for the best. And I just threw a basic cookie recipe in there and then added the carrots in, a bunch of cinnamon, nutmeg, a couple other spices, and the cookie was born.
Well, now do you write them down so you can replicate it later on in case it turns out really, really good?
I'll voice record it on my phone. I'll be like, okay, I'm doing this right now, and then kind of tweak it based on how it tastes and go from there. And it's a trial and error sort of situation.
A lot of our viewers and listeners here do bake. What are some of the secrets you can share with our viewers and listeners as far as what Liz Diaz does as far as her secrets in baking?
Well, I think baking, really good baking, what sets you apart is your passion and your love for it. So if you don't really enjoy being in the kitchen and you don't enjoy baking, it's going to show in your work. Kind of like with anything. Baking is also a science. So measuring out your ingredients and really putting time and effort into making sure what you're producing is quality is key.
So ingredients are very important. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Ingredients and heart.
Ingredients and heart. Okay. Now, in the kitchen, I usually get shooed away because my wife loves to cook, right? And she's in there doing this stuff, but I can make eggs in the morning and salmon and a few things like that.
Yeah.
But I've never really gotten into discovering baking on my own.
It's a whole different animal.
So how would you start if somebody's been around the kitchen, they know a little bit? What's a good? Are there manuals out there? I know there must be stuff on YouTube, and
Yeah.
how do you keep fresh with ideas?
Well, I like to come up with recipes on my own, but if you're just starting out, perfecting your chocolate chip cookie recipe is key. If you can do that, then you can do anything. I'm convinced of it. And everyone's chocolate chip cookie is different, so that's what I think makes it so unique. Like everyone's mom has a different recipe. So finding yours and then going from there, you're golden.
So which little chocolate chips do you use? Semi-sweet or sweet or what?
I use a combination of everything. So I use 4 different chocolate chips in my chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Oh, so you don't just go with one.
No, I go with 4.
Well, this is turning out to be an education for me. We're going to go to a break, and if any of our listeners want to send in questions regarding Liz Diaz and the Box, which is the name of her baking company.
The Box Gainesville.
The Box. Just go to Meldon Law Facebook in the chat line and send us a question. We would really love to hear from you. We're going to be back in 60 seconds.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not, no,
I
it's
am
not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here,
honey.
this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and we are really excited. We have Liz Diaz, who owns the bakery operation called The Box here in Gainesville, Florida, as well as maintaining a full-time student, being a full-time student at the University of Florida. That's that's a full plate.
Yes, a very full plate, but it's definitely taught me time management skills, and that if you put your mind to it, you can take on anything.
So you were in marketing back when you were going to Auburn University, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And when you came to the University of Florida, you went into the plant science department, right?
Yeah,
So
yes.
tell us, does that have something to do with baking?
Okay, so I came to UF originally to pursue pre-med, and the minute I transferred, the pandemic hit. So everything's thrown online. Going from marketing to these science courses is incredibly difficult. So I, wanted to choose a major that would set me apart. And I've always been interested in plants. But once, I finished physics 2, I kind of said, yeah, I'm gonna bow out of this. But plant science is a pretty rewarding major. You learn a lot about the environment and kind of where we're heading and how to sustain human life in the future. There's a food crisis going on right now that not many people are talking about, and the plant science majors are a doctor of plant. That's the best way to describe it. So very interesting major that a lot of people choose to neglect, unfortunately.
So when you graduate the University of Florida, it's going to be in the spring
Yes.
of 2022.
Yes.
What are your plans for the future?
Loaded question with a lot of answers. But I would love to see where I could take the box. I would love to open up a storefront that is a bakery during the day and doubles as a bar at night. So students will have a place to study and unwind, just kind of the best of both of my business, because the Box Gainesville does baked goods and charcuterie. So combining those two aspects would be a really fun type of venture.
So if folks that are listening and watching want to order something from the box, how do they do that?
So they can text me at the business phone number, which is 352-219-7996, or they can go on Instagram or Facebook and message me there. So it's just the Box Gainesville, and the profile picture is a picture of me, so you'll know you're in the right space.
So do we have a website yet for the box?
Yes, we have a website that I panic put together in a sense. I'm not a web developer, so it's a very basic, simple outline, but it gets the job done. People, like the simplistic outline of it, so I'm happy with it for now, but definitely want to up it in the future.
So you go to the Box of Gainesville? Is that the website?
The Box Gainesville, just
The
all
Box.
one word.
Oh, the Box Gainesville.
the Box
Okay.
Gainesville.
And you have pictures of some of the different items that are available?
Yes, and then our Instagram, my Instagram has all of what I make and the menus and everything you could ever want or need on there.
So tell us about your charcuterie.
The charcuterie, it depends on what you're looking for. I could do weddings, catering events, or I could do simple bachelor nights or girls' nights. And I personally love brie prosciutto and then jalapeno cheddar cheese. So I recommend that to anyone who asks me.
What's your preference in wine?
What's my preference in wine? I'm 23, just to preference that. Rosé. I really like a crisp rosé or a nice red.
Okay. In the reds, do you have a preference?
Merlot. I haven't really gotten into wine that much. Which is a good thing. If my parents are listening, I'm here studying.
Well, Liz is either studying or she's baking up here at the University of Florida.
Yes.
Which is admirable. In our home, there's no baking going on while wine isn't being consumed.
I can say that there was a week where the box really blew up, and which is why I'm here today, where I kind of thought to myself, a glass of wine would be really nice right now, but do I really want to handle a hot oven and do this at the same time?
Well, we're going to teach you. Now, we have a real box from the box here, and we have a question. What goodies are in the box on the table?
So
Why don't you show everybody what we have in the box?
This is a breakable heart. So it's melted chocolate in a heart mold. and you take this little tiny mallet and you smash it, which is kind of ironic because for Valentine's Day we should not be breaking people's hearts, but in this instance, it's a fun little venture. So I'm going to give you this mallet.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
Okay, so
In the breakable heart, you can fill anything in it. So candy or a card, anything you want to give your Valentine or yourself. So how you break it is you just go for it.
You just smash it,
Smash
right
it. I
here?
recommend putting it on the table and then
Oh,
smashing
so
it,
like
but
this.
yeah.
Putting it on the table.
Putting it on the table.
And then we're
just
going to smash it like this. Is there any part of the heart you recommend starting with? Okay.
just go for it.
We're going to go right into the center of the heart and see if we can break Liz's heart.
Too many
Okay.
people have done it
Boom.
already.
No, she's unbreakable. Wait a minute. Here we go. Okay. I am getting it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Here is half of the broken heart, and here's the other half of the
We
broken
can
heart.
put the heart
You
back
can
together.
put them back together
Look at
again.
that.
Oh, wow.
Healing.
Well, that's really exciting. I'm going to take a piece here. Now, is this white chocolate?
It's white Ghirardelli chocolate.
Wow. Here, you want a little piece?
Sure.
Try a little piece. This is delicious. So, go to the box Gainesville. Wow. So I have a sweet tooth, and I can tell you Liz's heart for Valentine's Day is so sweet. I almost didn't want to break it. However,
It's a fun little.
It's a fun
It's a
thing
fun
to
little
do.
activity. I mean, you can't tell me you didn't
Yeah.
have fun doing that.
my Lord. Okay, and everybody can see how nicely it's packaged here.
Yes.
And with the mallet. Do I get to take this home?
You get to take that home. That is for you.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so glad that, you were able to be here together getting ready for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So Valentine's Day this year is on a Monday, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of that. I'm a little panicked because I have one class in person and a bunch of orders. So there's still time to order. We have an entire Valentine's Day menu, but definitely going to be a busy day for
Well,
me.
let's talk about it. What are some of the most popular items on your Valentine's?
Oreo Truffles and cheesecake hearts, which both can be made gluten-free, catering to all the gluten-free people out there. I personally love the Oreo Truffles. I could eat way too many of them, which is pretty bad, but
Well, you're in very good shape.
oh well, thank you. I have not been in the gym in a minute, but thank you.
So how as a baker, do you sample your goods while you're going on?
Sometimes I'm very confident in my recipes, but when a cookie comes out of the oven, I'm kind of like, that looks a little iffy. I'll break one open and have it, but I tend to stray away from that just because I'm handling it every day, and after a while it gets old. I don't want to eat what I make all the time, and my friends will always call me up and say, hey, let's do a charcuterie night. And I'm like, awesome. I get someone to make a charcuterie board for me for once. And I'll show up and they'll be like, here's the board. And I'm like, yes, taking work home with me.
Well, I'm really excited. Where do you get your ingredients from?
Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and then for the flours and sugars, Sam's Club, just because wholesale, I can go through a 10-pound bag of flour pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. So there's secrets, but as far as the number one item for this Valentine's Day, the truffle. Is that what you mentioned?
Yes, the Oreos.
The Oreo truffle. So
Yes. Well, there's a cream cheese shortage, and the cream cheese is what makes the truffles. So I went last night to the grocery store and found a bunch of cream cheese. So if Gainesville's missing some cream cheese, it's in my refrigerator right now.
Well, this has been really exciting, Liz, and I'm going to have to introduce you to my wife because she
Looking forward to it.
loves baking, and she, she knows all the Cuban recipes. So
yes.
she'll maybe there's some that you haven't learned yet.
I'm excited to meet her.
Anyhow, so we're going to say goodbye to Liz Diaz and the Box Gainesville. Please check her out and help her get her business started. We're going to be back on Meldon Law and Friends in 3 minutes.
Bye.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not, no,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal! Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not, no,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law. We have been in the North Central Florida community since 1971, and we're very proud to be the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And it's fun. And speaking about the Florida Gators, our gymnastic team is kicking butt. They are going to have a match this Friday at 5:45, and you will be amazed at how good the Lady Gators are. We have future Olympians on our team, and Nia Reed, Trinity Thomas, and a bunch of other great stars. So support our Lady Gators. The last two matches have been sold out, so if you haven't gotten a ticket yet, grab one. Now, Meldon Law is giving away a set of 4 tickets along with a $100 gift certificate to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, which is where we are broadcasting from now. And we're also giving away a set of 2 tickets with a $50 gift certificate to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill out here at Celebration Point in Gainesville, Florida. So check us out on Facebook. Go to Facebook and put in Meldon Law, and you will be able to see all of the contests that we have going. It's really fun. It's so cool when we go to these events, and I go with my wife all the time, and we try to track down the winners of the contests and take pictures with them and have a good time. And the kids are so excited to be able to see these fantastic Gator athletes perform. So check it out. And if you can't go live, then go on to I think it's on the SEC network, Friday, 5:45. I think it starts at 6 o'clock on the broadcast. So we're really excited because the Gators could be national champions this year, as they were 3 years in a row. I think 2013, 14, and 15, they had the trifecta. So we're obviously big Gator fans. My second guest for the podcast today is Daniel Barousse, who is the owner and founder of Slice. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so anyhow, Daniel, tell us a little bit about the Slice and how you wound up getting into the venture.
Yeah, sure. So Slice Engineering is the full name of the company. We make components for 3D printers, which is a very sort of niche market. If you're not into 3D printing, it's not applicable for everybody, but it's a pretty cool technology. And my background is in mechanical engineering, and so took that experience, worked in medical device manufacturing for a little while, and then found out that there was really a need for improving the performance of 3D printers that were out on the market. So we took that idea, that concept, and built a company around it. And now we sell 3D printer components, specifically the part that melts plastic. It's called the hot end. So we make that component, and we sell to around 40 countries around the world. We're located in the UF Innovation Business and Technology Incubator. And we're shipping thousands of parts a month, which is pretty exciting.
So tell our listeners and viewers what 3D printing is. What's it all about?
Yeah, it's a great question. So 3D printing is a pretty unique technology. It, as opposed to 2D printing where you're printing on paper, it is the ability basically to create out of either metal or plastic. We work exclusively with plastics, but create a 3D object. So, for example, holding a glass here, this is probably made out of a material called PETG. It's a particular type of thermoplastic. This is normally done through a process called injection molding, but if you wanted to produce a limited quantity of them at your house, for example, or on the factory floor, but you didn't need to buy 10,000 of them at a time, the only inexpensive way to do that, cost-effective way to do that, is through this process called 3D printing, where you are taking sort of raw material, you're melting it, and then you're the tool head that is extruding the plastic, the molten plastic, moves around in a pattern to create a 3D object. So that is essentially 3D printing. Maybe not the best explanation, but
no, I get it.
Yeah.
So you have to have some material in the printing device.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you need a raw material that you start with that you
and
can
the
buy.
raw material can be either plastic.
It's typically going to be plastic. There are some printers that can use metals, but those are typically on the more expensive side. So big companies are going to use them, like the BMWs, the GEs, the GMs of the world are going to have a big million metal 3D printing machine. But you can buy a plastic 3D printing machine for about $150 off of Amazon and get it shipped to your house in 2 days.
For $150,
For $150.
I can have a 3D printer in my office or home.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and then it'll cost you about $20 to get. They ship plastic material in what's called a spool, so it's just just like you would have thread on a spool, you can get plastic wound on a spool, and then they sell them in 1 kilogram quantities, and so you can get on Amazon and order that for about $20.
Wow. Yeah. So what would be some applications that a person in an office or home would commonly, utilize a 3D printer for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the cool things about 3D printing is that there are a bunch of new applications being discovered all the time. When the laser was invented years ago, there was no application for the laser, really. It was like a cool technology. We focused light. Nobody really knew what to do with it. Now we use them everywhere, right? They're used possibly in this microphone. They're used in cameras. They're used in your car for speed detection. 3D printing is kind of similar on that trajectory. So the initial use case was we're going to make prototypes faster than through a traditional manufacturing method. So instead of taking 4 weeks to machine a prototype out of metal, we're going to print it out of plastic in a week. Now the applications are really quite limitless. So some of our customers kind of span the gamut. So some of our customers are printing with a $150 3D printer at their home, and they might be making a custom bracket for a shelf in their garage. Or maybe they have a hobby. They like to fly drones, and their drones break a lot because drones are like that. So they print a part for it instead of waiting for it to get delivered. On the high end of the spectrum, we work with the U.S. Navy, for example. So the Navy has 3D printers on ships, on submarines. The U.S. Army and the Marines have them in what's called a forward operating base. So it's a base that's sort of close to the front lines. And so they have, let's say you're in a Humvee, the door handle on your Humvee breaks. You don't want to ship that thing from the United States where it's getting manufactured. You can go back to the forward operating base, tell the technician, hey, I need one of these door handles, and he can have it for you in 2 hours.
So what would you do? Get the specs for it and put it on a computer, and then the computer would talk to the printing device?
Absolutely, yeah. So the 3D printer takes a set of instructions in a language called G-code, and G-code is a universal language for machine tools. And so basically machines that manufacture items, and that G-code is translated from a desktop computer or a laptop, or even some phones will have applications where you can take a 3D model that you've designed or downloaded from the internet, and based on a set of specifications, and it's called slicing, which is part of where the slice engineering comes from. So it converts that 3D image on your computer screen into a set of instructions in G-code, and that is then sent to the 3D printer, and the 3D printer interprets that language and says, okay, step one is I'm going to move to 0.000, extrude this amount of plastic, and then I'm going to move to 0.111, extrude this amount of plastic, etc.
So that's pretty cool. How would you get the exact specs for, you use the example of a door handle. Mm-hmm. If something broke and you wanted to get that, how would you create the exact specs for that part?
That's another good question. So in the case of the military, they are actually creating a library where they're finding all of these parts that are kind of wear parts, something that would break often, and they're going back to the manufacturer and saying, give me all the specifications on that door handle. We're going to turn it into a 3D model that is then going to be printable at the forward operating base. But if it's a door handle in your house, there are applications on your phone, or you can buy what's called a 3D scanner, where you can basically scan it with the camera on your phone or the camera on this 3D scanner, and it'll import some of that geometry into a 3D file that you can then convert into a printable object.
Wow, that's pretty cool, because if Jeffrey Meldon called Tesla and said, I need a part, I don't know that they would give me the specs.
They would not give you the specs, but you could scan it.
I could scan it.
And
okay.
Yeah, you could scan it and 3D print your own. In fact, if you Google just like Tesla 3D printed parts, you could find models that other people have scanned and designed and you could even download somebody else's file and print it on your 3D printer.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm far from a techie guy, but in our family we have two Teslas. Okay?
All right, awesome.
We have no vehicles with engines in them.
Really? Wow.
And so I'm learning slowly but surely some of the cool things that Tesla does.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about how they visualize, or scan what's around you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's friggin' amazing.
It is amazing.
What the technology is. I can go onto the interstate and just tell the car just to drive itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it just does it. The only downside is I actually have to keep my hands on the steering wheel. Well, I don't know if that's a downside.
Yeah.
It's probably an upside.
Upside for everybody else, downside
yeah.
for you, maybe.
But
Yeah.
but I've been around for a while, and the technology that I'm seeing developed is absolutely fascinating to me, and we're going to get into some more of this in our second session with Daniel Barousse, who is the owner of Slice Technology in Gainesville, Florida, and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere.
If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, and we are really excited to have a great show for everyone to listen to and to view. If you're watching, you can watch us on Facebook, Meldon Law and Friends, or you can go to YouTube, and we're on 37 audio platforms. So check us out, Meldon Law and Friends. We've been on almost a year and a half now. We're really excited about the traction we're getting around Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City, and the rest of Florida and the United States. So check us out. Tell your friends to listen or watch the show every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Again, I am here with our special guest, Daniel Barousse. Daniel, we were talking about 3D printing, and I was fascinated that you can actually get a home 3D printer for a couple $100.
Yeah.
And then you can buy the materials and start, creating designs and products on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really incredible. Over the last 10 years, the prices have dropped about tenfold, which is just stunning to think about, that sort of price movement to make it a more affordable technology, a more achievable technology for most people. And the really cool thing about this is that 3D printing is really the first technology that has allowed the sort of layperson that is not an artist or a machinist to create something tangible from their mind with their own two hands in a matter of hours. Rewinding a few decades ago, the only way you were going to do that was with a hammer and chisel or with a lathe or something like that. And now you can do that with a 3D printer, which is pretty incredible.
Now, the applications for this, you were mentioning earlier, there's $1 million machines that someone like BMW might be using. Are they using that to create prototype models, or are they using it to replicate mass produce parts for their vehicles?
So in some some of both, mostly for prototyping right now. So the nice thing, if Ford or BMW is going to make a mold for a car, they want that mold to last for 100,000 vehicles. I mean, there's a significant investment to tooling up a production line, to be able to manufacture those parts to come out with a car that is consistent from one BMW 3 Series to the other. They're not that different, right? But if you're producing fewer number of cars, let's say you're producing 1,000 cars instead of 100,000, the cost to bring up a production line is significant. And if you're 3D printing a lot of those components, you can really reduce the cost. So like GM, for the new Corvette, the C8 Corvette, they used more 3D printed parts than any other vehicle before in history. And for one, it's they're not making as many of those as they are the Chevy, I don't know, some crossover, they're not making nearly as many of them. So there's a cost break-even point where it makes more sense to 3D print.
So to all of our listeners, we're talking about 3D printing here, and it's kind of fascinating because you're talking about the new Corvette. It kind of looks like a Ferrari to me.
It does. That's so cool.
It's like Ferrari was making those cars 40 years ago, and Chevy finally figured, well, that's a pretty cool looking car. I think we'll make one.
We'll make one too.
But I'm a big car guy, so I go to shows all over.
Awesome.
And I was so excited to see the Corvette. I thought, wow, that's
a great looking car.
Yeah, and they're selling it for $70,000 or something, which is not cheap, but it's not like
it's not unachievable.
Yeah. It's not exactly the cost of a Bugatti or something like that. But it's going to be interesting because eventually, there's certain companies. I mentioned Bugatti. There's certain European manufacturers that could actually start producing cars in limited quantities using this technology.
Absolutely. So what's really cool about this is every time you see a significant revolution in the way in which humanity produces items. So we had the Industrial Revolution, right? And then we've had the Information Technology Revolution. So we're now entering what's called Industry 4.0. So it's the fourth industrial revolution. 3D printing is a big part of that. AI is part of that. Blockchain technology, cryptocurrency is part of that. And all of those things working together allow us to produce things in both digitally and physically in new ways. So every time you see something like that happen, it shakes up all of the sort of established industries, and you see smaller players entering the game because now they can compete on price suddenly. So what I believe is going to happen is we're going to see a bunch of smaller boutique automakers showing up in the United States again, where they're making 1,000 cars or 10,000 cars a year, and they're going to actually be able to do that at a price point where consumers are going to be able to afford to buy it. And that's a really exciting thing because that allows more people to enter into that market, whereas there were only really the big three. And now in the next 10 years there might be the big 30 or the big 300. And that's I'm really excited about that as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so as you know, we're lawyers at Meldon Law.
Yeah.
What are some applications that we might think of as far as using 3D technology?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of, obviously, legal stuff that goes into the back end of 3D printing, making sure that, I know you're not working in intellectual property law necessarily, but there's a lot of patents, a lot of trademarks, a lot of copyright stuff that goes into Industry 4.0 in general, right? But also specifically into 3D printing. So that's a way that from the law side you could get involved. In terms of how 3D printing technology applies to you, I don't know if you want to print trinkets for some of your customers or something that would be customized, something to send out to your clients that might be a fun promotional mailer or something where that would be less expensive to do it that way than if you had somebody on staff that operated a 3D printer than doing it in
Well,
another way.
I thought of one thing. If we're in the courtroom and we're trying to recreate a crash and we've 3D
Absolutely.
printed models of the scene and
That's a brilliant way to
and everything, we
about it.
can just you can certainly do it on a computer, but sometimes a 3D model
Yeah.
is a more powerful way of explaining
Communicate.
what
Absolutely.
happened.
Absolutely.
So
That's a great idea.
yeah, we've got a bunch of techies at the office. I'm
Awesome.
gonna have them
You
go
can recruit one of them, yeah.
go get one of these 3D printers and call Daniel if you get stuck on what to do next, because he'll come over to the office and help you. If people want to get a hold of you, and do you do business in any retail fashion, or is it just with large companies, or how does that work?
So we've got a website, sliceengineering.com. You can, if you have a 3D printer already, our products will make more sense for that. That's our target market. If you don't have a 3D printer, you could, look at our social media or YouTube and maybe learn a few things potentially about 3D printing. But also, if you have questions, you can contact us, support@sliceengineering.com, or just reach out through our website.
Well, I'm fascinated by 3D printing. I saw it in the early days, and it looked like this machine just came and I'm going, what
is it doing? Yeah,
that copier is eventually making something, right?
Yeah.
So if I had a little a model car, I guess it would depend on the quality of the printer as far as how long it would take to create an object, right?
Yep. Yeah. So you could do it as fast as a couple hours or as slow as, several days, depending on how detailed you want it and how big you want it. But yeah, if you wanted, you were talking about the courtroom scene. I think it's a brilliant idea. Having something tangible really makes a big difference in the way people understand things. And yeah, so if you wanted to print a bunch of small cars, you could probably do that in a day.
Yeah, not only that, when we're talking about serious injuries and we want to show, a picture of the, spine and the neck and the disc that were injured in a crash, something like that, there's a lot of standard models out there that lawyers use in the courtroom. However, what you're telling us is that you could actually customize it to that particular case.
It. Yes, absolutely.
And that's the part that is really exciting, whether you're building a car, or a model, or a part for, the door handle I ripped off. It's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's doable.
And the fact that you can, somehow, scan it, and you don't have to rely on the manufacturer to, disclose what are perhaps, their
proprietary,
trade secrets or whatever you want to call them, is even cooler, because now, if I break something at home, I don't have to, run and hide. I can just tell my wife, I'm calling Daniel. We're going to get this thing fixed really quickly. It's like no problem. So you were talking about the Industrial Revolution. You said we're in number 4 now?
The fourth Industrial Revolution, yeah.
So the first one, what was that? Late 1700s? Or?
Yeah, something around there. Yeah, when factories started to really form. Yeah. A lot of obviously issues with that era, but factory production was the first industrial revolution.
Do you know what the second part of the second and third industrial?
So I think the second was Henry Ford with standardization, mass production.
Yeah, where he was able to produce a car that his employees could afford to buy.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
and that was huge, because up until that time, it was mostly craftsmen there. Earlier, hundreds of years before, there were craft guilds where the technology was transferred from, father to son.
Yeah, to apprentice.
So
yeah, master to apprentice. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the part that we could now create with 3D printing, it might take a lot longer, and that it couldn't be mass produced in any way. We're getting near the end of the show. I feel like we've just started. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Definitely sliceengineering.com. You can reach us at info@sliceengineering.com. Just email. It'll come to our super helpful support agents who will answer your questions about 3D printing, mostly about our products, but about 3D printing as well.
Yeah. So if we have any budding, inventors out there that, want to create a prototype, this would be a perfect vehicle to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
3D printing is ideal for prototyping.
So, where do you, I guess you can just go online and buy a 3D printer. Best Buy's probably got them by now.
Best Buy does have some, but you're going to find a better selection online for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, we're at the end of Meldon Law and Friends. I want to thank Daniel Barousse for joining us from Slice. Is it Slice Printing or
Slice Engineering?
Slice Engineering. He is an engineer. And we had a great time on the show today. And thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
And we'll see you all later.